1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you very much. That was an Irish tune called Dawning of the Day, or Raglan Road. And a big thank you to Ian McHarg, my bagpipe teacher from Marshfield, Vermont, and pipe major of the Catamount Pipe Band. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Or if you're watching this in the afternoon, good afternoon. And welcome to our 6th virtual story time. It's hard to believe. Well, since tomorrow is Earth Day, I figured that today I would share with you some stories about flowers and fairies. But first, let's begin by waking up our hands and warming them up with a clap, 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 a clap, 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 a clap, clap, clap. I wake up my hands with a clap, 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 and I wiggle my waggles away. I wake up my feet with a stomp, 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 a stomp, 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 a stomp, stomp, stomp. I wake up my feet with a stomp, 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 and I wiggle my waggles away. I wake up my head with a nod, 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 a nod, 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 a nod, nod, nod. I wake up my head with a nod, 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 and I wiggle my waggles away. I wake up my eyes with a blink, 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 a blink, 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 a blink, blink, blink. I wake up my eyes with a blink, 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 and I wiggle my waggles away. I wake up my hips with a shake, 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 a shake, 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 a shake, shake, shake. I wake up my hips with a shake, 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 and I wiggle my waggles away. One more wiggle. I wake up my tummy with a poke, 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 a poke, 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 a poke, poke, poke. I wake up my tummy with a poke, 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 and I wiggle my waggles away. One more good wiggle, you guys. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Who's ready for a story? If you're ready for a story, can you raise your hand? If you're ready for a story, can you tap your head? All right, I think everyone is ready for a story. So here we go. Our first story is called A Fairy Went A-Marketing by Rose Fyleman, illustrated by Jamichael Henterly. And this reading is by permission of Penguin Random House. Thank you very much. So a fairy went a-marketing. And I'm going to sing this to you. A fairy went a-marketing, she bought a little fish. She put it in a crystal bowl upon a golden dish. And now she sat in wonderment and watched its silver gleam. And then she gently took it up and slipped it in a stream. A fairy went a-marketing, she bought a coloured bird. It sang the sweetest, shrillest song that ever she had heard. She sat beside its painted cage and listened half the day. And then she opened wide the door and let it fly away. A fairy went a-marketing, she bought a winter gown, all stitched about with gossamer and lined with thistle-down. She wore it all the afternoon with prancing and delight, then gave it to a little frog to keep him warm at night. A fairy went a-marketing, she bought a gentle mouse, to take her tiny messages and keep her tiny house. All day she kept its busy feet pit-patting to and fro. And then she kissed its silken ears, thanked it, and let it go. And you can see all the animals that she bought and let go. You can see the mouse. Can you find the frog? The bird? And then last of all, can you see the fish? Isn't that a lovely song? A lovely poem? Well, can you think why maybe I chose this as your Earth Day story for today? How does the fairy treat all the animals in this story? Is she mean and cruel to them? Or is she kind and gentle? And when she buys the animals down at the market, what does she do with them? Does she keep them locked up? Or does she set them free? This poem was written about 100 years ago in 1918 by Rose Fyleman. But I think that his message is really timeless. It's always important. And if you enjoyed this poem, you should check out some of Rose Fyleman's other fairy poetry. You can find it online. And a lot of her poetry has been set to music. So down below in our video description, I've included and listed a couple of artists and musical albums that set Rose Fyleman's poetry to music. So I hope you'll check those out. Really lovely. Wonderful gems. And now, I figured, since it is still April and time for things to be growing, April showers bring May flowers, I figured we would recite a little poem about flowers. So it goes like this. How many flowers do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 flowers. 5 little flowers growing in a row. The first one said, "We need rain to grow." The second one said, "Yes, we need water." The third one said, "It's getting hotter." The fourth one said, "Look, there are clouds in the sky." The fifth one said, I wonder why." Then boom went the thunder. Zap went the lightning. This springtime storm was getting kind of frightening. But were these flowers scared? Oh no, because they knew they needed rain to grow, grow, grow. Was that a nice poem, you guys? And you know, you don't need a felt board to recite this poem at home. You can just use your hands. So I've included the words to this poem down below in our video description. And this is how it goes with your hands. 5 little flowers growing in a row. The first one said, "We need rain to grow." The second one said, "Yes, we need water." The third one said, "It's getting hotter." The fourth one said, "Look, there are clouds in the sky." The fifth one said, I wonder why." Then boom went the thunder. Zap went the lightning. This springtime storm was getting rather frightening. But were the flowers scared? No, no, no. Because they knew they needed the rain to grow, grow, grow. Was that a nice poem, you guys? I hope you enjoyed. Well, now we have a wonderful fairy story for you. This one is called The Old Woman Who Lived in a Vinegar Bottle. And a vinegar bottle was a type of house. So, this story has some refrains that are repeated throughout the story. So, as we read the story, I want you to do the movements with me. So every time that the old woman makes a wish, she has to turn around 3 times. So can you turn around 3 times? 1, 2, 3. Good job. And then she closes her eyes, and when she opens them, she sees what she will see. So, here we go. The Old Woman Who Lived in a Vinegar Bottle. I hope you enjoy. Let me just put on my costume. Once upon a time, there was a little old woman who lived in a vinegar bottle house. Every day, she would sit by her window and she would sigh to herself. "Oh dear, oh what a shame, what a pity, that I should live all alone here in my little vinegar bottle house at my age. I should be living way out in the country, in a beautiful cottage with straw thatch on the roof and roses growing in the garden, that I should. What a pity." Well, one day, a fairy happened to be passing by, and she heard the old woman's wish. And she thought to herself, I can do that. And so she flew down to the old woman's window and appeared before her. "Turn around 3 times before you go to bed. Lay down and close your eyes. And in the morning you shall see what you shall see." Well, the old woman was quite surprised by this, but she did as the fairy told her. That night, before she went to bed, she turned around 3 times. Ready? 1, 2, 3. She lay down and she closed her eyes. And when she opened them in the morning, there she was, living in a beautiful country cottage with straw thatch on the roof and a garden full of roses. Well, the old woman was quite surprised and quite pleased, but she completely forgot to thank the fairy. Well, fairy flew north. The fairy flew south. The fairy flew east. The fairy flew west. She went about all her business. And then she thought to herself, I wonder how that little old lady is getting along. I'd better go and find out. She must be very happy now that she's living in her country cottage. So the fairy flew off to the country cottage, and there she found the little old woman sitting by her window, sighing away. Oh, dear. Oh, what a shame. Oh, what a pity that I should live all alone out here in the country at my age. Why, I should be living in a beautiful townhouse, very smart, in the middle of the city, next to a bustling, busy street, with lace curtains on my window, and a brass knocker on the door. That I ought. Well, the fairy heard that. She thought to herself, I can do that. If that's what she wants, that's what she'll get. So the fairy appeared before the little old woman. She said, turn around 3 times before you go to bed tonight. Lay down and close your eyes, and in the morning you shall see what you shall see. Well, the old woman did as she was told. She was very surprised, but she did as she was told. That night, before she went to bed, she turned around 3 times. 1, 2, 3. She lay down, she closed her eyes, and when she opened them in the morning, there she was in a very smart townhouse next to a bustling, busy street with lace curtains on the window and a brass knocker on the door. Well, the little old lady was quite surprised, but very pleased, of course. But she completely forgot to thank the fairy. Well, the fairy flew north. The fairy flew south. The fairy flew east. The fairy flew west. She went about all the business she had to do. And then she thought to herself, I wonder how that little old woman is getting along. She must be very happy now that she's living in her smart townhouse. I'd better go and see. And so the fairy flew off to the townhouse, and there she found the old woman. The old woman was wearing a very nice new hat and had acquired a very genteel accent as a woman of the city. But she was sitting by her window and sighing away in her genteel accent. And oh dear, oh what a pity, I must say, that I should live in this busy city by this noisy, bustling street filled with common people. I should be living as a duchess in a mansion very grand on a hill, filled with servants and surrounded by a garden with a carriage to take me where I want to go. What a pity. Well, the fairy heard that. She thought to herself, well, I can do that. So she appeared before the little old woman, and she said, turn around 3 times before you go to bed. Lay down and close your eyes, and in the morning you shall see what you shall see. Well, the old woman did as she was told. That night before she went to bed, she turned around 3 times. 1, 2, 3. She lay down and closed her eyes, and when she opened them in the morning, she was a duchess, living in a grand mansion on a hill, surrounded by a garden with servants to wait on her and a carriage to take her where she wanted to go. Well, the little old woman was very surprised, but very pleased, of course. But she completely forgot to thank the fairy. Well, the fairy flew north. The fairy flew south. The fairy flew east. The fairy flew west. She went about all the business she had to do. And then she thought to herself, I wonder how that little old woman is getting along. She must be very happy now that she's a duchess. I'll go and find out. So the fairy flew off to the duchess's mansion, and there she found the duchess, the old woman, sitting by the window and sighing. And this time, of course, she had acquired quite a refined accent, very upper class. Oh dear, what a shame, what a pity that I should have to wait on the Queen every day and curtsy to her every day. Why, I ought to be the Queen. Sit on a golden throne, live in a palace, wearing a golden crown on my head in jewels and a brand new silk gown every day. What a pity. What a pity, indeed. Well, the fairy heard that, and she was a little bit annoyed, a little bit frustrated. But she appeared before the old woman, and she said, turn around 3 times when you go to bed. Lay down and close your eyes, and when you open your eyes in the morning, you shall see what you shall see. Well, the old woman did as she was told. When she went to bed that night, she turned around 3 times. 1, 2, 3. 3 times. She lay down and closed her eyes. And when she opened them in the morning, she was queen. Living in a palace on the hill, sitting on a golden throne with a golden crown on her head, wearing jewels and a brand new silk dress every day with courtiers to wait upon her. Well, the old woman was quite surprised, but very pleased and satisfied, of course. But do you think she remembered to thank the fairy? Nope, not a bit of it. Well, that fairy flew north, the fairy flew south, the fairy flew east, the fairy flew west. She went about all the business she had to do. And then she thought to herself, I wonder how that little old woman is getting along. She must be very happy now that she's queen. Do you think she's very happy now that she's queen? What do you think? Well, let's find out. The fairy went flying off to the palace to find the queen, sitting on her golden throne with a crown on her head, in a brand new silk gown, with jewels at her throat, sighing. And this time, of course, she had acquired quite a refined upper-class accent. We are not amused. Indeed, it is quite a shame, quite a pity, that we should merely be queen of this cruddy little country. Why, we should be queen of the whole entire world. We should be empress of the universe. All should bow to us. Well, the fairy heard that, and this time the fairy got quite angry. The fairy said, well, if that's what she wants, that's what she will not get. But the fairy appeared before the queen, the old woman, and she said, turn around 3 times before you go to bed tonight. Lay down and close your eyes, and in the morning you shall see what you shall see. Well, the old woman, the queen, did as she was told. That night, wearing a beautiful embroidered silk dressing gown, She turned around regally 3 times. Can you turn around regally like a queen 3 times? 1, a 2, a 3. Her servants lifted her into bed. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them in the morning, she was back in her vinegar bottle house, where she began. And there she will stay, the fairy said. If she won't be happy and content there, then she won't be happy and content anywhere. And that is the end of our story. And can you think why I chose this story for us today? Well, it has a wonderful message. I think that we're going through some very difficult times right now, and it's important to be grateful for what we have. We live in a time where constantly we're oftentimes wanting more and more of everything. It's important to be grateful for what we have. And always don't forget, always remember to thank the fairy. Well, there's your story for the day. The Old Lady Who Lived in a Vinegar Bottle. And this is a very old, traditional English folk tale. But there are many different variations in the world of stories. There's one involving a fisherman and his wife and a wish-granting fish. But that is a story for another day. And that particular story I ran across in Dancing with Trees, Eco Tales from the British Isles by Alison Galbraith and Let J. Willis. One of my favorite stories. And your craft for today is a fairy. So, I used a spoon to make my fairy, but you could always use a popsicle stick as well, or a wooden kitchen spoon. And I drew on her face with a Sharpie marker. I used yarn to make her hair. Now I used hot glue to fix it onto her head. You could probably use Elmer's glue as well. I used an envelope to make her dress, but you could get fancy and you could use cloth if you wanted to, if you could. Or you could just use regular paper and markers and decorate her dress however you like. For the wings, I wanted them to be a little bit transparent, a little bit diaphanous, and so I used tracing paper and colored them in like a butterfly's wings. But you could also use wax paper, or you could use tissue paper, or just plain old paper and color them with markers or colored pencils, or just leave them plain as you like. I used a toothpick as a fairy wand and glued that into her hand. And I cut out the crown out of paper and colored it in. So I hope that you enjoy this craft. I want you to note that your fairy probably won't necessarily look like my fairy, but that is okay. In fact, your fairy shouldn't look like my fairy because it is your fairy and not my fairy. And you have to make your fairy however you like to make you happy with it. And you'll probably be making your fairy out of a lot of different types of materials. And I'm going to encourage you to be creative. You could even go out to your backyard and get some creative natural materials, leaves, sticks, acorns, nuts, and put them together in order to make a fairy out of natural materials. But whatever materials you use, I would love to see pictures of your fairies. So if you feel comfortable and you would like to, go ahead and post a picture of the fairy that you make here on our Facebook page, the Aldrich Public Library Facebook page. Well, I'm going to wish you a very happy Earth Day. And I'll see you all next Tuesday, the same time, same place. Bye for now.